We are working through some technical difficulties, and as soon as those are resolved, we will start. The regular meeting of the Kansas City Public Schools Board of Directors for June 28th, 2023 is called to order. Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner. Buckner.
Here.
Curls. She's on virtual. Ford.
Here.
Jackaway.
Here.
Kendricks.
Here.
Cortez.
Here. Board members have received the agenda. It's also in your packets. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda for this evening? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner.
Yes.
Curls. Ford.
Yes.
Jackaway.
Yes.
Kendricks.
Yes.
Cortez.
Yes, the agenda is approved. It's my understanding, Lisa, that there are no outstanding action items. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I would invite our newly elected director, Robert Sagastume, to join me at the podium to take the oath of office. Okay. I do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Missouri,
of the State of Missouri,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of school director
of school director
in and for the school district
in and for the school district
of Kansas City 33,
of Kansas City 33,
County of Jackson,
County of Jackson,
State of Missouri,
State of Missouri,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
according to law.
according to law.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
With that, please join us on the dais. I probably should have preceded my swearing in by noting that that Robert Sagastumi, we received informal notification last night from the Board of Elections that he was the successful candidate in the District 3 seat election, and we will receive the formal approval of those votes tomorrow, and then formally accept the election at the July board meeting. Welcome, Robert. So our next item on the agenda is public comment. I want to remind everyone that during the public comment portion of the meeting, the board chair will call each individual to the podium in the order in which they signed up. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may provide written information to support their community. Commentary, my apologies. Comments must be acceptable for a business and family-friendly environment. Inappropriate language, gestures, or personal attacks will not be tolerated. With that, the first person signed up this evening is Paula York. Paula York. The next person on the agenda is Chanel Moore. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Chanel Moore. I'm a registrar at Northeast Middle School. I'm a graduate of Kansas City Public Schools. I graduated from Central High School. I'm also a parent of KCPS, and I am here to discuss the morale and the culture climate of Northeast Middle School as it pertains to some individuals in that building and some of the things that other individuals have had to experience during our time there. So jumping into it, the mentality of some of the staff at NIMS has been toxic and somewhat cancerous. I believe that some staff members have demonstrated extreme biases, and it has caused a racial and cultural divide within our building. Up until our recent building administrative changes, the people with those biases were tolerated and in some ways encouraged in their actions and behavior, which is problematic when half of the student body is made up of Black and brown scholars. While I would like to think that what I've observed is unconscious bias, it's hard to make that argument when one refuses to unlearn behavior. In fact, it starts to become a dangerous mindset to double down on your bias when in an attempt to hold you accountable. For me, it started with the murals, and everybody wants to know, like, what's the deal with the murals? NIMS had murals that celebrated prominent Black and brown figures, change makers, significant historical events, and quotes. The same people who were leading the charge against one of our admins also spearheaded the initiative to have the murals painted over, and they were successful. As if erasing our history for Black and brown students wasn't enough, someone then posted a picture of former President Donald Trump proudly in the library on a red-covered bulletin board with red background, American flag border, and red tulle draped over the corner. This was a celebration of him. Someone who represents hate and who incites violence against people of color was posted for his entire term in the library of Northeast Middle School, supposedly the most diverse school in the district. To me, painting over the murals symbolized silencing our voices. Posting a picture of Trump symbolizes fear to keep us in line. Even after countless complaints to the principal from both teachers and students, it was still allowed. When the person was asked why his picture remained, even after he lost the second election, this person begrudgingly removed those pictures. Do we not see how problematic and dangerous it is to think it's okay to have his picture posted after painting over murals that were a direct reflection and representation of the community that we serve in? We had 3 separate instances where derogatory terms were, people were called derogatory names such as monkey, you people, buckwheat. They were used in reference to students and staff. When reported to the building leadership, it wasn't immediately addressed, and the response was they didn't know those terms were derogatory. Taking that into the fact, they didn't know into consideration, we had a 3-part unconscious bias PD training, which was arranged by school leadership, and it was done via Teams because of COVID at the time. Afterwards, I remember hearing several of my coworkers say they didn't even pay attention to the training, which was very disappointing to hear. This school year, the district suggested the culture responsive teaching book. Again, people refused to read it because the first few pages made the people who are content in their biases uncomfortable. All the while still making disparaging remarks against students by calling them criminals in an email or implying that they're sexual deviants because this one person decided that they were going to tell the security staff, in case no one is watching my area, I've left some condoms on the countertop. Honestly, it scares me to hear that people who work in an urban school district would rather remain either willfully ignorant or are so content with racism that they refuse to learn and take in information that can not only make them better professionally, but just to make them a better overall human. No matter what or who makes up the administrative team the upcoming school year, I'm calling out toxic biases, and if majority of our building staff intentionally chose not to subscribe to such dangerous behaviors and ideologies, these select few people will stick out like sore thumbs,
Ms.
and they'll
Moore,
either be.
If
I'm
you
sorry.
can kind of wrap up, we're
Thank
coming
you.
to the end.
Okay, I'm wrapping up. They'll either become open to change in an effort to be united as a true team, or they'll either leave. Either way, Northeast Middle School will still stand. We will continue to serve our multicultural families, and we will stand firm in the fact that racism will never be tolerated. And that's how we change the narrative for NIMS. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Tuana Jackson. Next on the sign-up sheet is Kyle Oliver. Welcome.
Good evening, board members, staff, and community members. I was asked to come here today to speak on the culture of Northeast Middle School, but we have had enough people in our building who would like to speak to the negative, so I would like to take a change and speak on the positive highlights. Mr. Hart did say that they wanted this from an academia standpoint, but as a mentor and a secretary, I am the eyes and ears of the school, so I do get to hear and see what the teachers do not see on those 4 floors. So the highlights that our administrative team has done this year. So Mr. Hart, who is our interim principal, he does believe in positive reinforcement, and that has been evident since he stepped into that building. He has implemented class dojo points that will allow teachers to give positive feedback to scholars, to those that have shown exemplary behaviors. Those students were rewarded. We also had a student of the week that were awarded with prizes. And to combat the skipping and the misbehavior that we have had trouble with, he also beginning assigning students to lunch detentions, which greatly decreased the number of students who have skipped their classes. The real target of the ire of NIMS was a new VP, but Ms. Williams has built relationships with students and staff, and we can attest to that by the people who have shown up for here today, a former teacher, a current teacher, and someone from KCPD. The day before the last day of school, a student was jumped and his shoes were stolen. Ms. Williams reached out to her personal community to purchase new shoes for that student. 2 to 3 days later, Ms. Williams personally delivered 3 new pairs of shoes to that student at his home. Ms. Williams also implemented a weekly boys group, which was run by 2 officers from KCPD, one who is here today. The group was dissolved due to conflict resolution, but Officer Walker still comes to the school to check on his boys. We had a troubled student whose behaviors were partially caused by bullying and self-esteem. Ms. Williams personally paid for her to get her hair done so she may feel better about herself. She also believed that our scholars deserve to have fun, so her, along with Mr. Hart, and our student council, they had dances for those students with exemplary behaviors. Our other vice principal, Mr. Dillard, created a no-contact contract between students that was in conjunction with our restorative justice coordinator so that those behaviors will not result in further fighting and suspension. It's very easy for people who are not here to say what NIMS has done, but they have not contributed to a positive learning environment for teachers and for students. So in order for us to effect change, we must stand up against those who mean us no good. Thank you.
Thank you. The next individual on the sign up is Brandon Walker. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Can I get some extra bonus minutes? Because this is going to be a minute. Okay, 3 minutes. All right, cool. I'll take my 3.
Yes, but no.
Okay, well, I'm Officer Walker with KCPD. I want to talk about 2 things when it comes to the admin with Northeast Middle. Let's talk about genuine interest, and then we're going to talk about genuine relationships. Those are 2 key components about working with the admin. They have opened the doors and allowed me to come in as a police officer. Now, usually I'm not in this gear. The staff would tell you I'm usually in a t-shirt, jeans, and I have my badge and I have my gun, and a lot of them, first thing they say is, "Are you undercover?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here for you, dude," you know? But long story short, they have allowed me to come into that school, and that just shows the desire of them allowing the community to have this paint this bridge that we're dealing with a lot. And a lot of the kids that we worked with, some of my boys in the boys group that I've been allowed to do there, we're really big on changing lives. And when you have an admin team like you have right now at this juncture, it's almost like they should be piloted around the city. And I'm not just saying that because they're police friendly, but what I'm saying is that they're looking at different ways and different lights of how can we affect these kids, how can we change lives. That's why I'm a police officer. And I'll tell you, and I'm a former teacher. I taught 3 years. I taught at Fort Osage and I taught at Grandview. So I know the importance of education, but I also know the bigger importance of creating relationships and having a correct interest for our youth that are out here that are really going through some things. I can tell you, we haven't been more busy as a police department in years with this summer. But with that being said, them allowing me to be in the school and to show these kids, to show the youth that, you know, like, man, police officers, man, we eat too. We're not from some crazy planet. You know, we're here, we're human just like you. Matter of fact, you can be a police officer too. Things of that sort, talking about their issues, talking about their problems. It is changing lives. And the only way that we get to do that is having an admin staff like they have up there, having a staff like that, allowing us to come in. And I can't ask for a better staff working with those guys. I work with a lot of the schools, but I'm telling you, man, hands off to all of these principals that are doing God's work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Tom Love.
I'd like to welcome our new school board member. I really appreciate your dedication to come. You've got a really important job. It's critical, absolutely critical. I hate to say this, but right now we have 42% of the children in 3rd grade that are in the pipeline to prison. They're 2 years or more behind in reading, 42%. This is from what was handed out just a couple weeks ago, right? 42% are 2 years or more behind in reading. 42%. It's absolutely horrific. What are you going to do if you can't read? How do you expect to do well in math, science? How do you expect to you can't even join the military if you can't read. You can't read the test. You can't get into, what's this across the street here? What's the building over here? Isn't that a VOTEC school? You can't read the manual. We don't have any students across the street out of Kansas City School District, according to people I talk to over there. They've got a machinist program that makes you can end up making over $100,000 a year. Why aren't the juniors and seniors? Why aren't they in the VOTEC schools? When I started this years ago, there wasn't one student at any of the community college technical schools. The head guy on Front Street told me that. He said all the other districts, they allowed students to go. I don't know what's going on today on that. I just know that I checked across the street a couple of months ago. I'm very excited about what's happening now. The COVID money was used correctly. The Title I funds have been misused for a long time. They were supposed to have reading specialists in K through 2nd. These children have been ripped off. It's unbelievable. If they went to Olathe and the Title I schools in Olathe, and they have 10 of them, they would have gotten 500 hours of reading help from a master's degree reading specialist that's actually trained to work with dyslexia. They got 0 here. They didn't have one reading specialist in this school district. I checked St. Louis, and it's the same thing. This is unbelievable what's been going on. I'm sure it's in Chicago and Detroit. The federal funds was in the rules and regulations. It's where the rules were. You're supposed to ask the parents, the teachers, and the principals, not a single administrator that's been misspending the money here. They have 30-some instructional coaches, and I hate to tell you, but typically teachers typically say worthless, useless, and a huge waste of time. They desperately need reading specialists in K through 2nd, and we've got 69% of the students now in kindergarten that are on grade level. They got help this year. It was wonderful. We need
Your time
that.
is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Eric Petrie. Eric Petrie. Next, we have Brandon Bone. Next, we have Zoe Wilson. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Zoe Wilson. I'm a rising junior at Lincoln College Prep High School. I'm here to request more district funding and support for debate and forensics. I have been competing in policy debate for about 3 years. I compete mostly at the local level, the local debate league. It's called Debate Kansas City. Schools from all around Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas participate in DKC. The most notable part of DKC is that their high school league is urban. This means that only public and charter schools can participate. Unfortunately, our urban league is very small. It's tiny. Often the high school sector just doesn't have enough teams to fill novice, junior varsity, and varsity brackets in normal tournaments or even championships. This is because it is hard to start, run, and keep up a debate team. KCPS schools only have one coach stipend per team and no base district funding. This means that if they have a debate team, this is if they have a debate team at all. This means that raising all of the money for the team, taking students to all of the tournaments, teaching everything about debate falls on one person. Unlike sports or district-supported arts programs, debate isn't given money for teams or for the team as a whole, or multiple sponsor stipends. And because of this, urban debate suffers in Kansas City. Even when people do put in the work, a lot of problems arise when transitioning out of DKC and into larger, more expensive, more prestigious weekend tournaments. Students are underprepared in larger tournaments because the quality of our debate in the Urban Debate League is so low, because it hasn't been invested in, and because larger tournaments have higher entry fees that local teams can't afford to pay often enough for students to gain the experience needed to be successful. And that's not even to mention the amount of time it takes for one KCPS coach has to invest for students to go to enough weekend tournaments to be competitive in the field. Both problems I present here, that urban debate in KC is small, and to go to other tournaments, the KCPS teams don't have enough resources to go to other tournaments. It combines to form a barrier to debate that snowballs and works out to destroy the urban debate scene in KC. But these problems can be solved with just a little bit of investment, just a little bit of help on the district level that would compound to give us more coaches, students, and forensics events, which, by the way, we have none in DKC. Students have been successful in debate. Schools like Lincoln University Academy and Foreign Language Academy are very successful in DKC participate in national level debate tournaments. But we could be so much better. Debate and forensics is important to the development of critical thinking and public speaking skills of students all over the country. To speak to my own experience, policy debate has given me the opportunity to learn about so many different parts of the world. In policy debate, we talk about things ranging from the Russia-Ukraine war and how likely it is that Russia will win, or lose, or strike somewhere else, to conversations about the underlying effects of racism and prejudice in our community and the solutions to those problems. And let me tell you, board members, I love it. It gives me a way to engage in politics, and it forces you to think about all the sides of an idea, not just the one that the media tells you to agree with. I love debate and forensics, and I'm proud of what has been built with Debate Kansas City. That is why I encourage you, board members, to invest in debate on a district level, just as we do with other activities like sports and arts, so that all KCPS schools can have access to urban debate, and so that DKC urban debate can succeed. Because debate is so important to critical thinking, because we can talk about so many different aspects, like the Russia-Ukraine war. I never thought that I would be a person that reads the news every day like a freaking, old person. I read the news every day, guys, just because of debate, because it brings me into that world, because it means that I have an impact. I have an issue that I know something about, that I can talk about, and I can talk about all sides of it, because in debate you're forced to. That is why urban debate and debate in general is so important to our entire district and to myself included. That is all the time I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, final question, do we have a DAC report this evening? Okay. With that, recognize Dr. Collier, who will introduce the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening. At this time, we're going to move into our superintendent's report, but I do want to acknowledge our student, Zoe. Awesome job. Thank you for coming and speaking. We're really proud of you. And we're going to look into what you've requested. We've heard you, and we're going to look into that and make sure that you all have the support that you need. Thank you for representing our students. I have a few superintendent's announcements that I'm going to go through, and then we will have a video highlight, and I believe that's of Summer Academy, so we can see a little bit of what's been happening over the summer as we prepare to close out tomorrow. And then our presentation for the evening is the adoption of budget amendment number 2, and then fiscal year 23-24 budget review. So starting with the announcements, the first that I want to mention is, wrong page, is the University of Missouri Emerging Leaders Program. If we can go to that slide, please. Each summer, the MU Office of Academic Access and Leadership Development, in collaboration with the Missouri Legislative Black Caucus Incorporated, invites Missouri youth to participate in the annual Emerging Leaders Conference. This year's conference was held June 24th through 27th. It was divided into 2 parts. The first part, civic engagement. The second, college access. And it gave students an opportunity to build on their leadership skills. This week, KCPS high school students actively participated in workshops on the legislative process and college planning. The students experienced firsthand mentorship from Black legislators and navigation of college applications and dorm life from college advisors. The Emerging Leaders Conference permitted students to tour the state capitol in Jefferson City. They were able to meet elected officials and dialogue on meaningful topics to our community. We applaud Mizzou's Office of Academic Access and Leadership Development and the Missouri Legislative Black Caucus on coordinating this experience to develop our young leaders. We also want to applaud our own Joyce Wynn Hernandez, our manager of college access. She's here this evening, for spearheading this effort from our equity department. Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. The next announcement is around middle college and summer school commencement ceremonies. Just yesterday evening, we held our middle college graduation. There were 12 graduates that completed the middle college program. 10 of those graduates, we were really excited. 10 of them have accepted scholarships to attend MCC Penn Valley. So we're very excited as those students continue their education through Penn Valley. Also, Summer Academy will be closing out on tomorrow. We have 26 graduates who took advantage of the Summer Academy to complete their graduation requirements. We will celebrate their success on July 6th at Manual Career Technical Center at 11 o'clock a.m. And we are very proud of all of our summer graduates. We want to acknowledge and applaud KCPS staff members, Dr. Pam Ford and Lori Peters, for leading the commencement efforts. This next announcement we're very excited about as well. We want to welcome exchange teachers from the Philippines that will be joining the KCPS family this fall for the school year 24. 12 teachers will be joining KCPS, and they will have an opportunity to share their culture and their unique teaching styles in our schools. These highly qualified teachers represent 4 secondary math teachers, 4 secondary science, and 4 elementary. They all have a teaching experience ranging from 5 years to 28 years, and will also learn from their colleagues different teaching methodologies that they can bring back to their home country after the 3-year to a maximum of 5-year J1 exchange teacher program. The host schools for these exchange teachers are Southeast High School with 3 teachers, Central High School 2 teachers, Northeast Middle School 2, Lincoln Middle 1, Melcher Elementary 2, and Banneker Elementary 2. And we applaud our KCPS staff members, Marcelina Larios and Veronica Sarmiento, for leading this effort in concert with our Human Resources Department. We also want to take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate the Association of Montessori International Teacher Training graduation that will be happening on Friday of this week. KCPS hosted the first of its kind, an AMI International Teaching Program that was held right here in Kansas City Public Schools on the Holiday Montessori campus. The course ran from September 12th through June 30th. 12 KCPS employees participated in the program, along 5 non-KCPS trainees. 2 of them were from the Lawrence Unified School District, 1 from St. Louis, 2 individuals from out of the country coming from Nepal and China. So a very diverse group of teachers that went through this program. The graduation ceremony will be held Friday, June 30th, and we want to acknowledge and applaud Principal Kalinda Bass Barlow for her vision and the execution of this program. At this time, I want to share a response to a public comment that was made at our May 24th board meeting. A community member asked the question, can a memorandum of understanding for a community partnership be signed by the superintendent be terminated by the principal? The answer is yes, under the current policy. The recommendation that KCPS entered into an MOU for a community partner at a school, however, that is made by the building principal. That decision is derived by that principal, who determines that the partnership is needed and beneficial in the school. Similarly, it is part of the principal's duties to evaluate community partners to determine whether the goal of the partnership is being achieved and or whether the program is still serving the needs of the students in that particular school. As we have investigated this matter, it was determined that the principal did follow all of the written protocols for terminating a partnership, including review of the partnership with their executive team leader and the partnership office. In light of this situation, however, KCPS has now added an additional final step to our existing procedures that will now require any termination of an MOU to come to the cabinet and superintendent for discussion and final approval before execution. So those are our announcements for this evening. At this time, we will watch our video, which is featuring our Summer Academy.
Kansas City Public Schools proudly hosted the Summer Academy from June 5th to June 29th, a month-long journey of learning, exploration, and fun. This year's program was an incredible success, with an impressive enrollment of over 4,700 enthusiastic students ready to embark on a summer of discovery. At the Summer Academy, students experienced an array of engaging activities and hands-on learning opportunities. But it wasn't just about academics. It was about creating memories and fostering a love for learning. One of the highlights of the Summer Academy was the service learning projects. Students and parents voiced their interests and participated in focus groups and surveys, resulting in impactful projects that made a difference in our community. Let's take a look at some of the remarkable service learning projects our students were a part of. Kindergarten students spread kindness throughout the community. First graders focused on the importance of reducing, reusing, and recycling. Second graders explored the wonders of trees, bees, and birdhouses. Third graders learned about emergency preparedness. Fourth graders tackled the water pollution crisis. Fifth graders proudly showcased why KCPS scholars matter. Sixth graders delved into the world of entrepreneurship. Seventh graders advocated for social justice. Eighth graders explored the fascinating realm of public health. But the Summer Academy didn't stop within the classroom walls. Our students embarked on exciting field trips to enhance their learning experiences. First and fifth graders had a blast exploring the wonders of Science City, while second and fourth graders embarked on an unforgettable adventure at the Kansas City Zoo. Third graders immersed themselves in nature at the Anita Gorman Center, where they engaged in activities organized by the Missouri Department of Conservation and other wildlife agencies. From nature walks to fire starting and even petting snakes, they experienced it all. Sixth graders were captivated by the wonders of the Lakeside Nature Center, while 7th and 8th graders had an incredible time exploring the Kansas City Zoo. The Summer Academy was a remarkable journey filled with laughter, learning, and new friendships. We want to thank all the dedicated staff, teachers, and volunteers who made this experience unforgettable for our students. Kansas City Public Schools, empowering students to reach their full potential.
So we're hoping that our students had a wonderful time as they were learning, also engaging outside of the school building this summer. And we do appreciate all of our staff and partners who helped to serve in summer school, making it a wonderful experience for our students. At this time, we're going to move into our business portion of the meeting. We're going to have our fiscal year 2023 budget amendment. That will be led by Erin Thompson, our Chief Financial Officer.
Good evening, Board Chair Cortez, board members, Dr. Collier. On behalf of Dr. Collier, administration is requesting tonight that the board approve Budget Amendment 2 to close out this fiscal year. As you see on this financial statement, the Amendment 1 revenue was $359,911,886. We're projecting to close out the year $364,471,874. That's an increase of $4,559,988. That's mostly our grants. Our expenditure budget was $355,633,847. We're projecting an ending expenditure budget of $366,046,510, an increase of $10,412,663. So the net increase difference variance is the 5.8, which just happens to be the amount that we approved for roofs in April for our summer projects. The ending balance here of $82,853,225, that's an estimate at this point in time. And you'll see that variance for $1.5 million for $84,370,794 for Amendment 2. On our original budget, we always use our Amendment 1 amount because we just closing out Amendment 2 at this point in time. That's an unaudited balance. The auditors start July 10th, and we'll have our audited balance at that point in time. At the end of this year, we were carrying about 300 vacancies. So we're still facing a lot of vacancies in the district. About 150 of them were certified and 150 of them were classified vacancies. Okay, so this kind of reflects the increases in our budget. It shows we bought 10 small buses to help with our transportation. We bought additional musical instruments for elementary music. The facilities, the $5.8 million, that was the board item in April, where we're doing a complete roof repair at Faxon, Ace, Garcia, and Northeast Middle. And we, budget realignment, that's on some of our vacancies. We reduced those vacancies to help us pay for some of these items. And our federal grants, the largest one was the Head Start program, and our IDEA for entitlement funds for special ed. And then we had local grants also for early childhood, Hall family, and other grants for nursing services and robotics. So our total grants were $4,559,988 from the front page. That's a pretty short presentation. Any questions on Amendment 2?
I'm going to ask my colleagues. I'm just going to kind of see if we have any questions on this side. This board? No? I'll let
Okay.
you go ahead and proceed to the next section.
Go on to our FY24 budget. These are our budget timelines that most of you all have seen during this process many times. Of course, we start our budget development process in January, where we start projecting our revenue. We get our final student projection by school, by grade in February from the research department. And we use that to start determining the number of FTEs we will need at the schools, full-time employees that we need at the schools. Then we project our preliminary revenue, so we'll know how much we have to spend in the budget. That was in February. March, when we drop down to March, at that point in time, we're looking at sending out the budget worksheets to all the departments, and then they have to submit them back to us. April, May is the time that we actually have our engagements on the budget. We have also in May, we do our board budget workshop. We also do a public hearing on the budget, and at the end of May, last month, I did a complete presentation of the budget. So tonight, we're asking for approval of the budget for FY24. On those budget meetings that we have engagements on, this was the first year that we had actually 5 community engagements with different groups. We wanted to get input from our community on the budget this year, and we really appreciate all the input we got. We used Balancing Act. We shared the superintendent's priorities with each group, and they gave us the input on how they felt they wanted to prioritize all the superintendent's priorities. So we got a lot of input. I think we got over 500 people participating this year, and we really appreciate all the participation because that helps us when we develop the budget. And I have a note on here that parents should be attending those school advisory councils and PTA meetings so they can have input on the Title I funding budgets. So the superintendent priorities, we had 8 of them. I'm going to just highlight some of the main ones. They were all very important, but teacher salary increases, we felt that was very important for us to recognize our teacher staff with, along with the union, negotiated the $46,650 as the beginning salary, which is the highest in the state of Missouri in this area. So it was very important for us to recognize those teachers by doing salary increases. The other important staff was the family and community engagement staff. That was part of the superintendent's 5 big rocks. So those positions really helped in the schools for communication with the families and the community as a whole. So we felt those were very important for the school and outreach, to help them also outreach marketing that school. And school safety was also a big item that we're also using. We're adjusting that with moving forward together. But in the budget this year, next year, we're adding security cameras and the infrastructure that goes with those cameras. And we're also adding additional security officers at the elementary schools. This statement gives us the, here we go. Okay, this is our summary. It gives, as you know, our assessed valuation has increased for Jackson County. Everyone's hearing that on the news. And so the district gets a portion of that assessed valuation through our tax levy, the $4.95. This year, when we went out for Blueprint 2030, a number of community members asked about our deferred maintenance, because that's all we pretty much talked about. We had a lot of deferred maintenance. So in this budget here, it reflects that we're going to take some of that $4.95, about 66 cents worth, and start setting that aside for capital, so we can start addressing some of our deferred maintenance needs here in the district. So you see here on the first line, our revenue total is the $369,966,789, all the way over to the right there. So our budget for next year, we're projecting a budget of $348,672,609. This comprehensive budget just gives us the total of the local, county, state, and federal revenue to come back to that same revenue amount of $369,966. And we also give you expenditures by instruction, support services, our community services, facilities, and our long and short-term debt for the total of $348,672,609. This is our chart showing us where the money comes from. The majority of our money comes from our local taxes. 73% of this budget is reflected of our revenue of local taxes. County, $6.1 million, state, 4% of $15 million, and federal, $21 million. 21% are $77,999,458. And within that, we still have those $20 million worth of ESSER funds that we have set aside for HVAC. Where the money goes, salaries. As you see, 48% of our budget is salaries, and about 16% is benefits to go along with those salaries. So 64% of our budget represents people. So half of our budget, more than half of our budget, is salaries, FTEs. Purchase services about 17%, supplies 9%, capital outlay, those are items, our large equipment items, 8%, and our debt service 2%. So tonight we're recommending a budget of $348,672,609. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. I'm going to look to my colleagues. Robert, Nika. Ms. Thompson, I do have one question for you. I appreciate Dr. Collier's leadership and your leadership in pursuing stakeholder engagement. Would you be able to share with us, were there areas of feedback that either did we make any changes in the budget, or did we kind of emphasize some additional areas as a result of that community feedback?
I think, yes. Mainly on the Blueprint 2030, like I said, on the deferred maintenance, one of the items we did was try to allocate more money towards our capital of the levy, that 66 cents, to start addressing some of our deferred maintenance. We also had, from Balancing Act, the dual language requests, and at Paseo, we added 4 FTEs to help with that dual language program at Paseo, and with the international teachers also. We made sure we had enough FTEs set aside to bring those international 12 teachers over to help also with the dual language. So we did use input of the Balancing Act from our community.
Thank you. With that, Dr. Collier, any other further report? No. Okay. At this time, Chair recognizes the Board Treasurer, Jamaica Kendricks.
Okay, this.
Thank you. Okay, we are back to the treasurer's report. So for this first slide, what we see on here is, again, that our revenue seems to be larger than our expenses, and it's because the tax revenue that we receive in December, we take that and we have it in our fund, and so you'll see those dollars represented, but that's what we use to pay everything that we have moving forward. So as of May 31st, 2023, we were expected to have spent 92% of the budget to cover the cost of running our schools, but currently we've only spent 77% of that overall budget, including $24.9 million that has been set aside for spending on required contracts by law. And then our local income, which makes up more than half of our budget, again, mainly comes from property taxes that are distributed in December. We expect to collect county income in August for stock insurance. As for the state income, as you know, in the basics funding formula is redirected to our charter schools, so we don't get that income. Year-to-date collection is mainly due to transportation revenue that DESE will fully fund for the FY23 transportation formula. The federal income, our second largest source of income, appears to be down because $20 million has been set aside for HVAC and air quality capital projects that we have talked about for the last few months. And we expect those contracts to be funded this fiscal year. All right, slide 4 is where we are looking at most of our, hold on. Are we on 4 yet?
No.
We having technical difficulties. They do this to me on purpose. I think this is the second time Treasurer's Report has had difficulty.
That's the clicker. All right.
Mic went off. Okay, sorry. So thank you. So as I'm learning, I want everyone else to be able to learn. So we're going to stay here for a second today and talk about that local revenue. Where does it come from? So our local revenue is generated by our tax levy. And the levy is a local property tax that's passed by the voters of a school district to fund programs and services that the state does not pay for as a part of basic education. In our case, since our state funding moves to those charter schools, we actually use most of our funds actually come from this tax levy in our local operating funds or our local funds. So the levy is necessary because the funding provided by the state doesn't cover actual costs to operate a school district. Districts can use the levy for different things like extracurricular activities, special education, transportation, food service, operations, grounds and maintenance, and even preschool. So I just wanted you to see with this tax levy, it is really important to how we fund our schools. And I know that's a big conversation as we're talking about those Jackson County assessments. All right, moving to the next slide. Thank you. All right, salaries and benefits, of course, as always, are the largest portion of our expense budget. And they are down, again, because of the vacancies that we have, or the unfilled positions. The money set aside for capital projects, which is one of the smaller parts of our expense budget, is also significantly under budget because of the $20 million in ESSER funds that we've set, or ESSER 3 funds that we set aside for HVAC air quality projects, again, that we expect to contract this fiscal year. All right, our next slide, which we are all used to, it shows us How most of our dollars is spent, again, we have about $214.5 million spent on people, 67 on purchased services, and $31.5 million on supplies and materials. And then we have $34 million set aside for capital projects and $8 million in debt service payments. All right, with regard to investment funds, again, we always invest and have in the securities, and then they mature so that we can make our payroll. I did want to point out, because of those investments that we make, we have about, oh, is it on this slide? No, you don't see it yet, sorry.
It's on there?
I was moving too fast. So we had 2 that matured so we could do payroll. Next slide, please. Is this the last one?
Yes.
I don't see it. Oh, I see it now. Okay. I was tripping. Sorry. Okay, so with the securities, it was the last slide. We got about $190,000 that were earned off of those securities because we purchased them around $400,000, and then they matured for $500,000, or we purchased them for $4 million, and they matured for $5 million. And that's it for this.
Thank you, Ms. Kendricks. And thank you, Ms. Thompson. You're good.
Okay.
I do not have a specific board chair report. However, I am going to take the moment and simply acknowledge something that Ms. Kendricks mentioned and that we're all hearing a great deal about, which is the assessments that came out. I think it's very important that we consistently communicate to our public that it is in everyone's best interest that assessments be appropriate and fair. So if people, there are many of us who live within the county who have received the same shockers that our public have received, and sometimes it feels like a little bit of, can you top this, right? But truly, we encourage every person who lives within our boundaries, if you feel that you have received an unfair assessment, appeal it. That is what the process is set up to do. We cannot encourage you enough. It is in everyone's interest that we have a fair relationship with our taxpayers, and that starts with a fair assessment under the law. So you have until July 10th to get that process started, and there are lots of resources around to help you through that, and we encourage you to pursue that if you feel that is appropriate. At this time, I'm going to recognize Ms. Kendricks with the Ad Hoc Committee Chair Report for Government Relations.
All right, government relations has been doing a lot lately. The legislative session ended, and there weren't really anything significant that would have a significantly negative impact on KCPS that was passed during this legislative session. So in our last meeting, we really focused on what our legislative priorities might be for the board and where we might want to focus. We were really looking at, again, what everybody is concerned about, the property tax assessment. And so we know property taxes have increased dramatically. Mine were at 99.97%, not even close to the 700% increase that somebody had. However, because of the effect that it has on KCPS taxpayers, that's why we were discussing as a committee making the Hancock commitment, or continuing with the Hancock commitment, being one of our priorities. It was a priority in the previous year. And so I wanted to talk about Hancock Amendment just a little bit to give some context for people who are listening, because any feedback you might want to offer would be greatly appreciated, because as we make our legislative priorities, they should be reflective of the people who we serve. So the Hancock Amendment was adopted in 1980. It's an amendment to the Missouri Constitution and requires a vote in order for it to change. What it was intended to do was to protect the people by restricting the amount by which the state and local government can increase taxes and fees without a vote of the people. Now, for us, we are an exception because of our desegregation case. So like other Missourians, voters who live within our boundaries experienced or were under the Hancock Amendment up until 1995, something adjusted. There was a decision in our desegregation case by a federal court judge to set our operating levy at 4.96%. And that was done after voters had failed to pass an increase in the levy for more than 15 times. So what was enacted then was Section 11G in 1998 to protect our voters from the courts setting the levy at a higher rate without a vote of the people. So in 1998, 11G requires a vote of the people for KCPS to increase the operating levy to or above 4.96, which is why when you hear Ms. Thompson talk about our budget, we talk about having the operating level of 4.9599. This amendment protects KCPS because it allows us to continue at the rate set by the court to ensure that we have enough money to fund our schools, reverting back to the 2.2% rate that was approved by voters in the 1960s. That wouldn't be enough for any school district to operate at this time. And so what we are considering is looking at these significant increases that we've experienced as Jackson County residents, and moving forward together in partnership with our families and communities. We want to prioritize conversations about legislation that will help us to move toward a greater balance and predictability when it comes to our taxes and revenue, and to work together to meet the needs of our students, our schools, and our communities. So our conversation right now is around how do we do that? And that ends the government relations update.
Thank you. With that, we move on to policy and governance. I need my glasses again. As you can see on the screen, we have a series of policies that are up for adoption by the board. These are modifications or adoptions that are related to changes in state law or other provisions to keep us in compliance. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to recommend, is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent of schools for the board of directors to adopt new, updated, and/or amended administrative policies and procedures that will be identified in the board policy manual, Appendix D, Policy Compliance? This would include a motion to approve Board Policy Appendix D, IGAB, IGC, IKE, IL, and KC. Would anyone like to make that motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It is moved and seconded to approve Board Policy Appendix D, IGAB, IGC, IKE, IL, and KC. Is there any discussion on this motion? Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls, Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
Tonight I'll abstain from voting just because it has been less than 24 hours since I got a notification that I'll be here. But moving forward, I'm looking forward to vote. Thank you.
thank you, and Cortez.
Yes. The motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to regular business items, and I'll turn the floor over to Dr. Collier.
Okay, this evening, we have 14 regular business items that we're going to bring forward to the board for recommending approval. The first is approval of the fiscal year 23 comprehensive budget amendment 2. The administration recommends approval of the fiscal year 23 comprehensive budget amendment 2 with projected revenue of $364.5 million and estimated expenditures of $366 million. This final budget amendment will close out the current fiscal year.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. Do we have a motion for approval of the FY 2023 Comprehensive Budget Amendment 2?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been moved. It has been moved and seconded. That's a little duplicative. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
Abstain.
and Cortez.
Yes. The motion passes. Dr. Collier.
Okay. The second business item is the approval of the fiscal year 24 comprehensive budget. The administration recommends approval of the fiscal year 24 comprehensive budget with projected revenue of $369.9 million and estimated expenditures of $348.7 million. In preparation for the fiscal year 24 budget, the district had budget engagement meetings sharing the superintendent's budget priorities, and those budget priorities were based on the Blueprint 2030 goals and the superintendent's 5 big rocks. Administration had 5 budget engagement meetings with stakeholders, a board budget workshop, budget public hearing, and budget presentation to the board. This fiscal year 24 comprehensive budget recommendation represents a balanced budget for the Kansas City Public Schools.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. Do we have a motion to approve the FY 2024 comprehensive budget consisting of general fund, teachers fund, capital projects fund, and child nutritional service fund for the period from July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024?
So moved. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the FY 2024 comprehensive budget consisting of general fund, teachers fund, capital projects fund, and child nutritional service fund for the period July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
Abstain.
Cortez.
Yes. There is majority to approve the FY 2024 comprehensive budget consisting of general fund, teachers fund, capital projects fund, and child nutritional service fund for the period July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our third item is the collective bargaining agreement with SEIU. The administration recommends approval of the collective bargaining agreement for SEIU classified personnel with an estimated increase in salaries and benefits of $1.1 million for fiscal year 23-24. Pursuant to Section 1E of the SEIU collective bargaining agreement, administration and SEIU negotiated and agreed to the attached compensation schedules for 2023-24. Also, SEIU members ratified the agreement on June 14th, 2023.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. Do we have a motion to approve the agreed compensation schedules with the Service Employees International Union Local 1?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It is moved and seconded to approve the agreed compensation schedules with the Service Employees International Union Local 1. Is there any discussion on this motion? No discussion? Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
Abstain.
Cortez.
Yes. There is a majority. The agreed compensation schedules with the Service Employees International Union Local 1 is approved. Dr. Collier.
Okay, the fourth item is demolition of 3 buildings. The administration recommends approval of the demolition of 3 district school buildings, namely 6th Grade Center, the King Weeks Building, and Fairview Elementary. The district had community engagement sessions regarding the potential demolition of the 3 school buildings with the feedback from each of the respective communities provided. In each of these cases, the community's feedback was supportive or neutral. The next steps include additional community engagement meetings or opportunities. And so the first, for the 6th grade center engagement, it will include Kansas City, Missouri 5th District Community Meeting, AC Prep Elementary, SAC meeting, AC Prep Elementary Parent Community Newsletter, updating that community about the demolition, and also a meeting with the AC Prep faculty and staff. For Fairview engagement, that will include picture, SAC meeting. In that particular neighborhood, there's no homeowners association, so they will be organizing a community meeting to notify the residents in that area. And then additionally, the Picture Parent Community Newsletter will be a mode of communication as well around this demolition. And then for the King Weeks engagement, we will continue to engage the Oak Park Neighborhood Association board meeting, as well as the Oak Park Neighborhood Association regular meeting. Additionally, the district will develop and publish an RFP for qualified contractors and will request approval to proceed with the recommended contractor. This request will include a specific timeline for hazardous material removal and the actual demolition.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. At this time, do we have a motion to approve the recommended hazardous material removal and building demolition?
So moved.
Second.
The motion to approve the recommended hazardous material removal and building demolition has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? I would just like to note, Dr. Collier, to thank you and your team for including in the explanation the community engagement components that will continue as this work progresses. So thank you for doing that. I know that that's been something that my colleagues have highlighted, and we want to acknowledge that. Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
Abstain.
Cortez.
Yes. There is a majority to approve the hazardous material removal and building demolition. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our fifth item this evening is CC Fresh Produce Company Incorporated. The administration recommends approval of the amendment of the 3-year agreement for the supply and delivery of fresh fruit and vegetable products for the district's child nutrition program. The amended amount for fiscal year 2023 is not to exceed $300,000.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. I would take a motion to approve the renewal with CC Fresh Produce Company, Inc. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to approve the renewal with CC Fresh Produce Company, Inc. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Yes.
Thank you. Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
Abstain.
Cortez.
Yes, there is a majority to approve the renewal with CC Fresh Produce Company, Inc. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our sixth item for the evening is Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. The administration recommends approval of the 3-year agreement to provide grades K through 5 mathematics curriculum that includes print and digital licenses and professional services support. The Houghton Mifflin Harcourt is a resource adoption, and thus we did go through an RFP process. The RFP process included the top vendors presenting to the Academic Advisory Committee that was made up of 2 assistant superintendents, 3 directors, 6 elementary building administrators, 2 math coordinators, and 23 teachers that were selected by our union. The amount for the goods and services during the term of this agreement is $573,504.27.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. At this time, we would take a motion for the approval of the agreement with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Publishing Company.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion for approval of the agreement with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Publishing Company has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
Abstain.
Cortez.
Yes. The motion, brain is not working. The motion has been approved by a majority. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our 7th item for the evening is Curriculum Associates. The administration recommends approval of the 3rd amendment of the agreement to provide assessment software and to ensure the success of measuring student achievement by providing licenses for reading and math diagnostic series. The contract amount is $737,708.
Do we have a motion to approve the amendment between the district and Curriculum Associates LLC?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? The motion to approve the amendment between the district and Curriculum Associates LLC has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Pearls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway, Kendricks, Sagastumi, Cortez.
Yes, there's a majority to approve the amendment between the district and Curriculum Associates LLC. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our eighth item for the evening is the Sherwood Center contract. The administration recommends approval of the agreement to provide instruction and related services to students with special education needs in the amount not to exceed $900,000 for school year 23-24. Sherwood Autism Center is a DESE-approved private agency.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. Is there a motion to approve the service agreement with the Sherwood Center?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It is moved and seconded to approve the service agreement with Sherwood Center. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yeah.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
Abstain.
Cortez.
Yes, there is a majority to approve the service agreement with the Sherwood Center. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our ninth item, for this evening is Belfonte Ice Cream. The administration recommends approval of the amendment agreement for the supply and delivery of milk, dairy, and juice products for the district's child nutrition program. The amended amount for the fiscal year 23-24 is not to exceed $1.1 million.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. Do we have a motion to approve the agreement with Belfonte Ice Cream Company?
So moved.
Is there a second? It is moved and seconded to approve the agreement with Belfonte Ice Cream Company. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi.
Abstain.
Thank you. Cortez.
Yes. There is a majority to approve the agreement with Belfonte Ice Cream Company. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our 10th item for the evening is McGraw-Hill. The administration recommends approval of the renewal of 3-year agreement to provide English language curriculum for grades 6 through 12 and math curriculum for grades 7 through 12 that will support and offer teachers and students access to digital resources and tools to help ensure the success of increased student achievement. The McGraw-Hill contract is a resource renewal, and thus we are renewing a pre-existing contract. Teachers, instructional coaches, and coordinators all indicated that the current resources are user-friendly for teachers and students. They also contain necessary intervention supports, and they've seen some academic gains through their use. The amount for the goods and services during the term of this agreement is $573,504.27.
I have a different amount on my notes. Can we confirm the amount of the contract? Oh, I can do that. The amount of the contract would be $1,362,246.80. Do we have a motion to approve the renewal of the agreement with McGraw-Hill LLC?
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
Abstain.
Cortez.
Yes. There is a majority to approve the renewal of the agreement with McGraw-Hill LLC. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our 11th item for the evening is the 2023-24 renewals of district property, liability, and workers' compensation insurance policies. The administration recommends approval of the renewal of the insurance policies agreement for district property, liability, and workers' compensation insurance. Property insurance increased rate is consistent with the education industry. The estimated insurance premium for fiscal year 23-24 is $4,158,221.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. Do we have a motion to approve the 23-24 renewal of district property, liability, and workers' compensation insurance policies?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion to approve the renewal of the 2023-2024 renewal of district property, liability, and workers' compensation insurance policies has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
I abstain.
Cortez.
Yes. There is a majority to approve the 23-24 renewal of district property, liability, and workers' compensation insurance policies. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our 12th item for the evening is Martin Brothers Distribution Company. The administration recommends approval of the renewal agreement for the supply and delivery of food for the district's child nutrition program. The contract amount for fiscal year 23-24 is not to exceed $5 million.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. Do we have a motion to approve the contract C21011 with Martin Brothers Distribution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded to approve the contract C21011 with Martin Brothers Distribution. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
I abstain.
Cortez.
Yes.
Thank you.
There is a majority to approve the recommendation of the contract with Martin Brothers Distribution. Dr. Collier.
Okay, our 13th item for the evening is the KCPS-HPA, that's Hogan Preparatory Academy. The administration recommends approval to extend the term of the agreement from July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 for KCPS to provide meal services and oversight at Hogan Preparatory Academy Charter School's Child Nutrition Program. The estimated reimbursement is $600,000.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. Is there a motion to approve the agreement with Hogan Preparatory Academy in which KCPS will provide meal service and program oversight to Hogan Preparatory Academy students at HPA Elementary, Middle School, and High School? This agreement is effective July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve this agreement?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded to approve the agreement with Hogan Preparatory Academy as described previously. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Ye-
Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
I abstain.
Cortez.
Yes, there is a majority to approve the agreement with Hogan Preparatory Academy.
Okay, our 14th item for the evening is Loving Guidance, LLC. The administration recommends approval of the consultant agreement to provide 2-day on-site conscious discipline professional development services for pre-K social emotional curriculum. The contract amount is $8,940 funded from Kaufman Quality Enhancement Grant.
Thank you, Dr. Collier. Is there a motion to approve the contract for training with Loving Guidance LLC Conscious Discipline?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this motion?
Is this curriculum going to be implemented through all of our pre-K or just a few select?
No, it's through all of our pre-K.
Okay.
Ms. Ford?
I need to recuse myself given my employment with a Kaufman affiliate.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Not, Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
I abstain.
and Cortez.
Yes. There is a majority to approve the contract for training with Loving Guidance LLC, Conscious Discipline. Dr. Collier. We are at the end of the business items. Now we're at the consent agenda. Do you want to go ahead? You want me to go? Okay. I don't have anything either. At this time, I would invite a motion to approve the consent items that are on the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Lisa, please call the roll.
Buckner,
Yes.
Curls, Ford.
Yes.
Thank you. Ford,
Yes.
Jackaway,
Yes.
Kendricks,
Yes.
Sagastumi,
I abstain.
and Cortez.
Yes. Is that so? The consent agenda is approved. This brings us to the conclusion of our agenda. Dr. Collier, is there a review of Lisa, are there any new action items?
No, I do not have any at this time.
Okay, thank you. This brings us to the conclusion of our agenda for this evening. So if there is no objection, the meeting will be adjourned. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday, July 26th, 2023. And we wish you all a good evening.